Everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Don't Panic, How to Prevent Expensive Mistakes. Thank you for spending some time with us today. This webinar is brought to you by Evolve MEP. My name is Ashley Danahy, and I am the Product Marketing Specialist here for Evolve, and I will be your moderator today. Before we get started, I'll go through some webinar housekeeping. We encourage you to take advantage of the fully customizable webinar console by clicking on the icons at the bottom of your screen. You can resize any of these widgets during the presentation. Don't forget to type your questions and comments into the Q&A widget throughout the presentation. We'll take time to answer questions at the end of today's webinar. Please take a moment or so to introduce yourself as well. You can also take the survey at any time during or after the webinar. And this webinar is being recorded for your convenience, and you will be receiving an email with the recording link for future reference. You can find Evolve MEP on social media to make meaningful connections, receive special offers, and stay up to date on the newest innovations. Also, be sure to visit our website, evolvemep.com, to see how we help improve profitability and visibility for trade contractors by aligning teams on a single platform. Now I am pleased to introduce today's presenter, Amber Zinky. Amber is a sales engineer here at Evolve MEP with years of experience in the industry. Thank you for joining us today, Amber. Take it away.
Perfect, thank you. So, hi everyone, my name's Amber Zinky, sales engineer here at Evolve. You can see all my credentials there, but little tiny spiel about my background is I have a degree in technical civil engineering, but I worked for an electrical company before this doing prefab detailing and VDC work. So lots of different experience in that way, but I also was the RTS coordinator, so I managed our whole point department. So definitely love points, and I love this industry. So I'm going to share my screen and we can just dive into this. Don't worry, I'm going to do a tiny little PowerPoint for you all. Nothing too crazy with the PowerPoint, but just to kind of give you a little bit of information, and then we're going to dive into some live demo aspect as well. So common mistakes. So we're trying to prevent some of those costly mistakes that happen. Let's just kind of dive into what are some of the mistakes that commonly happen. So over modeling. So it goes hand in hand with my third bullet point there of not going into a project with a plan. So this is you're not talking to your field, maybe you're not talking to the prefab shop, or you're just not really fully looking into the requirements for your project. So with that being said, you're going to overwork and over model. So maybe you're not necessarily needing to tag every single thing or dimension every single thing, but because you think you do, you end up putting all that time into it, and that is a mistake because you're wasting a lot of time. And then inaccurate building information or design shortcomings. So with design building information, maybe there's conflicting documents, so maybe you assumed the wrong thing that was required for an element, or maybe just you entered in the wrong information, so maybe that was something where the technology aspect, or maybe just your knowledge about the industry was a little bit wrong, so you accidentally forgot to add something. Or again, going back to those conflicting documents, maybe it was not even your fault, but this mistake was made by there was the wrong ceiling height, maybe something where, again, those conflicting documents, you thought it was supposed to be one thing, but it was actually supposed to be another thing, and you didn't double check. Maybe, maybe the structure needs were wrong, and you put in something that was not supposed to be, so now maybe like your rod lengths are off, maybe you chose the wrong attachments. So all those little things can definitely add up to be a good amount of money for your project itself. So not going into a project with a plan, again, maybe you don't fully know what to do. Maybe, okay, this is your first big project and you have not done the research of, okay, what am I all going to get myself into? That's going to open yourself up for a lot of mistakes. And then not performing QC checks. Honestly, I personally believe that QC checks are really important because, again, with those, like design shortcomings and things like that, it's really important to understand like the industry needs and also maybe the technology aspect of it as well. So if you're having some difficulties of kind of mistakes, maybe look into some training or being able to experience where maybe like one person is super tech savvy in your company and the other person is super knowledgeable within industry, maybe you could pair them up and do like a mentorship program where one person shows the ways of the technology side and the other person shows more of like the industry side. I think the biggest mistake is thinking that we're, in this alone within this industry and not realizing, it should have a positive work culture of, everyone helping each other, because especially for big jobs, you need to have each other to walk through everything and talk through things. So again, those QC checks are really important as well. So it could be something where, one person's super knowledgeable about like your VDC side, and then you maybe have somebody who doesn't really understand the VDC side, goes in and double checks things, or vice versa. One person who's really knowledgeable will double check it. Inaccurate estimates. So this could mean a little bit of a few things. So inaccurate estimates meaning like your time. So maybe you are giving an estimate of how long it's going to take you to do the design side of things, and you kind of didn't take in consideration how difficult the project was, or maybe you realized certain things along the way that caused your estimate to be completely out of the water, and now you're having to deal with those mistakes. So maybe it's something where now you didn't realize your build material or things like that were completely messed up as well because of your estimate being wrong. So if you estimate your build material wrong or anything like that, maybe now you're giving a wrong cost of the material, which can be a big headache as well, especially with what's going on right now. Being able to order everything accurately is a huge thing. And then not learning from past mistakes. Again, this is a huge thing. We're going to make mistakes. We're humans. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, we have to throw it under the rug and never talk about it. We should definitely always, within this industry and just in life in general, learn from our mistakes, talk through it. Maybe it's something where a major mistake happened and you sit down within your company, talk through it, figure out how you can learn from it, and figure out, okay, let's not have that happen again. So definitely walk through everything, talk through things, and just learn from those mistakes, because if you learn from it, it's not going to happen, hopefully. So let's hope. So let's go to our first poll question here. So Ashley, could you pull that one up for us? So
Yeah.
have you or someone you worked with made a costly mistake?
All right. Yes or no option. It will give you all a few minutes if you can submit your answers. All right.
Has everyone answered the poll question?
Yeah, looks like there's a couple additional ones coming in.
Perfect, perfect. This is probably one of my favorite things, is just listening to horror stories. It sounds bad, but I feel like we'll see the answers, but I feel like most people have some kind of horror story, or somebody they know or them personally have made a mistake, but we'll see what happens with these answers.
All right, you ready to see the answers?
Yes.
All right.
Yep. Kind of figure that one. And also, with that being said, we could throw in the next poll question here. This is going to be a fill in a blank. Definitely don't worry, we're not going to share these, so don't feel like, oh gosh, I shouldn't spill all my secrets. But
yeah, what is your best design horror story? Yeah, and feel free to take a few minutes to type your answer in the box.
yes, and you guys can keep on filling that in. I'll keep going with this. Again, this is just a quick little PowerPoint, and then we'll dive into some of the demo for the actual software itself. So with that being said, we figured out what the mistakes that are commonly made are. Now let's go through some things to help prevent those mistakes. So there's a lot of things that you can do outside of the model. So again, I'm going to be focusing today on, the Revit side, the mistakes that are made within your design department, your detailing department, or your prefab, however you want to name yourselves. within the actual model itself. But there's a lot of things that you can do outside of the model as well. So communicate in departments. So communication in my mind is huge. You're going to want to be able to communicate. So this communication could be, again, listening to the field, talking through all of kind of the requirements, what's needed, what do they want to see? Because you're going to learn a lot from talking to people within the field and the shop, because they're the ones doing the actual physical work as well. Obviously, if you're coming from the industry, you also, or the work field itself, you're going to have that experience. So you might want to be able to kind of suggest some things, talk through some things. But again, being able to have that communication open and be able to talk through things is going to be great for you. So document changes. This is a huge thing as well, because let's be honest, it'd be nice if everything just stayed the same, but there is going to be design changes, and there's going to be changes altogether. And what happens when there's so many changes in your model is you're going to add information in, and then you're going to forget that you changed some things. Maybe some of the information slipped, and now that information doesn't live within that element anymore, or things like that, where you thought you did it perfectly the first time, you change it so many times, and then, things get missed. So have a streamlined document sharing platform. Do not have everything on your desktop. This is a huge one as well, because especially if you're going to be sharing your work and living in a model all together within your department, you don't want certain files to be on your desktop, because what happens if you're sick? What happens if you're gone for a few weeks? All of a sudden that really important document is living on your desktop and no one has access to it, and that's going to be a huge problem for a lot of things as well. So also the streamlined document sharing platform, we do have a feature or a software called BIM 360 or 360 Sync, 360 Sync. That's a great software for you when it comes to streamlining the documents as well. So it goes from one location to the next location. So you're not even having to worry about transferring those files, because I feel like that's one thing that happens a lot is, your files live in one location and they're needing to be in a completely different location. And it's so easy to forget to be able to move documents over to one location to the next. So definitely look into that. I won't be covering anything like that today, but definitely look into that if you want to be able to streamline those document sharing platforms. Also create a workflow chart listing out roles and timelines. So it's also really nice to know what everyone's doing, what everyone's role is, being able to go through, okay, what's going to be happening if I have an issue. I'm going to go look at my roles sheet and be like, okay, this person in my company, especially if you have a large company, it's nice to be able to know what everybody is doing, because if you have a question or you're struggling with something, you can go to that person and ask for help. Timelines. This is a huge one as well. Listing out how long it's going to take you to do everything is going to be really helpful, because when you go to the field, the shop, or anybody who you're working with, you can show them how long it's going to take you to do something. So it's going to help alleviate that inaccurate estimates. You're going to be able to have that data, maybe something where you look into some software to keep track of the time it takes elements to be able to place, or maybe for you to model certain things, but being able to track that information. Maybe you just do an internal study where you kind of keep track of the hours it takes you to do something. That is going to be super helpful to be able to have that data, to be able to have those accurate estimates. And then document a QC workflow and document when QCs have been done. So maybe it's something where you want to, again, help train some of those not so experienced people. So it might be something where you want to have a document of everything that somebody should look for when looking through a plan or a model. So if it's something where you're in the design side and you want to maybe have one of your detailers go in and look at your model and see, okay, everything looks great, it's all good to go, but maybe they need to know a document for all the little things that they should be looking for. So document some of those QCs. What are the people looking for those mistakes? Also document the common mistakes that are made within your departments as well, because it'd be great to have those, lunch and learns, be able to, again, keep growing within a company, because the problem is if you think you know everything, you're going to have some of those mistakes, because as humans, we don't know everything. We're always constantly needing to learn and adapt for all the things that are coming. But also document when QCs have been done. I feel like most people are a little bit more careful when their names are on something. So if you're stamping some of those documents with your names and you're saying, yep, I QC'd this drawing, I think it looks great, they did a great job. And if there is a mistake, you know, maybe it's something where you both sit down, talk through the mistake, learn from it. Again, it's all about learning. It's not throwing everybody under the bus or anything like that. So another thing is, okay, now we learned about what we can do outside of the model. What can we do inside of the model? Obviously, I'm going to say Evolve MVP. I'll go through some of that stuff in a live demo, but other things that you can do within a model, and this could be, again, something outside of Evolve, is QC filters. So setting up some of those filters to be able to double check some things, change some colors, learn about it, be able to, again, maybe have a process set in for some of those in the model QC checks. Ask questions. This is a huge thing. Again, I keep saying it, mistakes are made when we think we know everything. So ask questions, be engaged with, you know, your more experienced people within your company or within the shop, field, again, anywhere you can have those resources, ask those questions, learn from people within your industry, kind of gauge, okay, you had this mistake, well, how can we learn from it within our company? Or kind of, again, just ask questions, have that desire to learn, figure out stuff. I mean, you all are in this webinar itself because you're wanting to be able to learn. So that is a great thing, being able to, again, have those webinars, look up things, watch YouTube videos, learn from mistakes, learn from people. Double check information and check different views. Again, making sure that information that is within your model is correct. Maybe it's something where there was major design changes. You want to double check the information within your model and some of those PDFs that you're given for the design, making sure that, you know, that ceiling level is the same for every single different PDF that you get or things like that. Compare and contrast the different information that you're given and make the best decision that way. And the check different views is, you know, if you're only drawing in 2D and you've never looked at a 3D view of what you're modeling, especially outside of Evolve, if you're just using vanilla or standard Revit, it's pretty easy to have some funky things. So definitely double check those views. Have your section views, go to your 3D, have, you know, your 2D, have multiple different views to look through some things. Evolve helps with that, but if you're not using Evolve, definitely double check some things. Take a break. This is probably hands down one of the best advice I was given within this industry is taking a break. So this doesn't mean like go off for 2 hours and then come back. When I say take a break, it could be something as simple as you're spending 8 hours looking at one drawing or doing one thing. Maybe you want to just take 10 minutes and look at a completely different set of drawings or a completely different task, just to have your brain kind of take a break and not look at the same thing. Because if you're just staring at one thing for hours on end, you're going to miss some things. You're going to get so exhausted, your brain's not going to want to even care to look at things. And if it also gets to that point, just get up, go to the bathroom, grab some water, grab some coffee, come back, and you're going to have a completely different view on what you're looking at and completely fresh pair of eyes. Again, this has definitely been nice, especially when you're going through that stressful time of trying to get a drawing out and you have that pressure. I think that's one thing that happens a lot is if you're pressure and you're put in a lot of a pressure situation, that's when you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, I just have to get this done. I got to do it quick. You know, sometimes it's nice to take a deep breath, look at it, and take your time on something. Again, it's all about time and be able to do things fast, but also if you're doing things fast and not having kind of those resources to help with that process, you're again going to make some mistakes because you're not wanting to be the best, you just want to be the fastest. So again, take a break, look at some things, go from there. And then look into solutions to speed up your process. Again, I'm going to throw it out again. Evolve MP is great, but definitely figure out some of the solutions in the way of what is causing the most issues. What are you making the most mistakes with? Is it within your model? Is it something exterior like you're having messed up problems sending files? Maybe you're having a hard time keeping track of all the data. Look into your company as a whole. What issues are you having? And figure out, okay, we got to figure out, you know, speed up the process or just have it be good and not be able to, you know, have those little mistakes. So with that being said, we're going to go into the demo part of it. So I'm going to go in and show you some stuff within our Revit file itself. So within here, we have a lot of great stuff. Today I'm going to be more so focusing on Evolve Electrical, just because I am more on the electrical side, but we do share a dev team with our mechanical side. So a lot of the features I will be showing, well, some of them are going to be shared features. So even if you're on the mechanical side, you're going to get some useful things if you are within Evolve. Or if this is the first time you're seeing Evolve, definitely kind of look at the time-saving things, the things that are going to help you be more accurate and also not have those little mistakes that happen within the industry. Again, mistakes are so common. I don't think there's, I mean, if your company has never made a mistake, all power to you. That's amazing. I love that for you. But again, there's a lot of little things that can come down to it. So with that being said, you're going to see we have Evolve Electrical. It's a plugin within Revit. You're going to see a lot of great features within here. I'm going to touch on some of them that I think are huge benefits to kind of double checking your work, helping you not make those mistakes. So with that being said, my first one I'm going to show you is our quick bend total. So I like this because, again, we're human. Traditionally, you're just going to add up the degree of bends, figure out where you're at. But with this, you can select any point of your run. This is going to give you that warning, making sure, hey, if you have non-evolve bend families, kind of be aware of that. But in this situation, you're going to have a total degree of bends. So it's going to give you that total degree of bends. So you're not going to accidentally be a human and make a mistake in the way of counting those. Again, I know it's simple math, but if you're having a really long day, maybe you drank way too much coffee and your brain's a little bit fuzzy, it's nice to have concrete answers right within your view here. Also, you're going to have your run length. I like within Evolve, all of your lengths will be calculated for you when it comes to your conduit. We have some of our auto routing for our cabling, which will also give you those lengths. Because again, human error, being able to use, even like your chain measurement, or if you're dimensioning, hopefully your dimensioning is going to be accurate, but those chain measurements and adding it in for like estimating and being able to have those rounding, again, little things like that can happen in that way. Going from there, we have our Conduit Run Schedule. So our Conduit Run Schedule is great to pump in a lot of data within your conduit itself. You can put as much information as you possibly want within those conduits. So you can see we have a lot of really great information within here. But what I'm going to show you is in the way of our options. So we have air conditioning highlighting. So this is great for like more of your QC checks, making sure all the information is added within there. So your run ID not assigned, I'll focus on that. We'll change a color. Let's do green. But within your run schedule itself as well, this is going to be super helpful because traditional native Revit, if you're entering in this information, it's going to be into like a comments field or a parameter, or you have a different software to do this. A lot of times, if you're entering in information, it's going to be cleared out when you continue your run or anything like that. This is huge to be able to, again, not worry about that. You assign it once and you're good to go from there. But that's some of our Conduit Run information itself. But for checking to make sure your QC, making sure that you entered in all that information, we go here, say error check. It's going to run a check for me, and you can see all of my conduits do not have anything assigned to them. And I can show you, we'll just select these two here, and I'm going to go here and assign my run ID. Do filter by selection. I'll have all my run IDs right here. Since I have them pre-selected, I'm going to do, again, that filter. So this is the one I need. Press OK. And then from there, I'm going to run that command again. So I'm going to reset my view. And then you can see none of those colors are applied. I'm going to go here and say error check again. And then you can see everything is green except for those two that I assigned. Perfect, just making sure there's no questions. All right, so going from there, now we have a very powerful tool called Parameter Sync. I, again, really love this tool. There's a lot of use cases. It's an extremely powerful tool. So parameter sync, one thing, I just quickly entered this one in. It's nothing too crazy, but this is, again, an example of what you could do. So I have a mark check, so making sure all of my receptacles have a mark. Maybe, again, depending on how you have this set up, I'm just going to have it where maybe I tag my marks for my receptacles, like L1005, things like that. So maybe I want to double check to make sure all of my receptacles have that information living within it. And again, this could be no matter what, if you have an element that you're manually entering information, or maybe again, you're pulling information, because that could be something that you do right within parameter sync. This could be something where, if an element has existing information that lives within it, you can pull that information from one parameter into the next parameter. So this tool is very powerful. I've seen people use PowerShell script to be able to, when they put in that receptacle, it'll automatically put the room number in, things like that. So this is a very powerful tool with a lot of use cases. But with that being said, I'll go through this situation. So I'm going to put in a rank. I'm going to have my rule name. I just put in mark check, and then element filter. I can come in here and really get specific on what I'm trying to find. So I have my electrical fixtures. I'm going to have my family name contains value and the name of my family itself. And then I'm going to have a next condition. I'm going to have mark is blank. So it's going to be looking for any of my receptacles that have a blank mark. So from there, I can say refresh my current view. I'm going to save that, go back in here, and I'm going to refresh that. It's kind of giving you, again, a warning. You can also enable these so it'll be automatically, or you can run it as well. I have a filter set up in this view to turn red if I have an error. So when I select on this receptacle, I just put it within my comments ID, but you could have it in or a custom ID if you want it to be like in a comments field or things like that. But I did a simple there's an error in it. So you could be, again, having this as, your QC filters, things like that, to be able to, again, make sure you're not missing anything, giving you that visual cue of you are missing something. So what are you missing, and fill that in. So definitely look into what you're manually entering in over and over again, because again, maybe you could completely automate that process using parameter sync, or you could also use parameter sync as a way to figure out if you are missing anything and how do you fix that. So going from there, I'll just have these. I don't have a hanger in here, so it looks a little weird, but you can see I have my conduits here. I'm going to mess this up. One thing I really like about this, again, is our tools to double check things. Or it allows you to be able to just quickly throw in elements and then go back and double check your work. So again, your run hopefully will not look like this, but sometimes life happens. So it's, again, nice to be able to come in here and double check. So I have my align conduit. So there's two different sections. So we have applied level alignment, and then we have apply run spacing. So if I turn this one off right here, it's going to have my spacing on my conduit be adjusted, but the elevation is still going to be funky. But if I wanted to adjust my spacing and my elevation, I can come in here and say apply elevation alignment as well. So from there, you can see we have our run spacing. So we do have edge-to-edge spacing, we have equal spacing, and then we have dynamic spacing. This one is hands down my favorite. I think anyone who knows me knows I love this one, all because we can go in here and have our spacing configuration. So it can be something where, a 2-inch conduit next to a 1-inch conduit, what would that spacing be here? You can modify these numbers as well. And one thing that is nice too to help with some of those mistakes is a lot of our settings are going to be project settings. So anytime you see project in these settings are going to be saved to the Revit file itself, which is going to be huge because if you have some of those not so experienced people within your company, you're not going to have to worry about, them doing the settings. Again, that sounds bad, but sometimes if they're in that learning process, you don't want to have to completely, throw a whole bunch of information at them and hopefully it sticks. It might be something where it first, until they kind of get that full knowledge of the industry, maybe have somebody who has that knowledge and come in here, do these settings, and then all they have to do is do the commands, run through it, and they're good to go. So again, super nice to have that option in here. We do have the export import in for a lot of these settings as well, so you can set them up. If it's going to be really consistent for all of your different projects, you can just come in here and export and import them in as well. So from there, we can do continuous alignment as well. So press OK, choose the one conduit that you want to be stationary, and then have the other conduit be aligned to. So press finish, and it's going to line them up. So similar enough, because I did that align continuous, I can do select this one and press finish. And then again, questions wise, if you guys have questions, definitely have them within your questions. We'll answer any of the questions as we go. I also will try to keep some time at the end here to answer any questions. It could be something that we walk through some things, or if it seems like a little bit of a deeper question after this, we can set up some time and we can go on some one-on-one conversations as well. So I want to throw that out there. So if you have questions, throw them at me. If not, again, we can have that set up where if you feel a little bit more comfortable talking outside of this atmosphere, definitely we could do that as well. Could parameter sync align labels? That's a great question. Maybe if we utilize our PowerShell script, I'm not sure if aligning labels will do that. Again, I know labels are kind of the frustrating thing of when you're starting to take things and having to manually do this. I'll definitely have to look into that if that's possible within that realms. The only thing I can think of is if you use PowerShell script to be able to kind of do that. If not, maybe it's something that we utilize like macro automation, things like that. We do have those features where if you're using like a macro or your Dynamo script, things like that. But I'll look into that one as well. So going from there, speaking of settings, like I was talking about over there, we do have like bend settings. So a lot of our settings within here, you can come in here and go into your settings here. A lot of these ones also have, your drop down for like your hanger settings, your sleeve settings, things like that as well. So from there, within our bend settings are going to be great for, again, giving that extreme accurate information. So you're not having to worry about like what's going to go on here, like you're worried about your bend looking nice but not going to be extremely accurate. This is going to again take away that mistakes being made where you have like weird angles, weird dimensions, weird things. The only way things are going to be weird is if you go in here and mess things up. So if you're going to come in here and have really wrong information in here, then you're going to have some issues, or if you're going to adjust your bend angle itself. So I'll just throw in a bend here. Again, placing my couplings, I'm going to swap it out. I'll put an offset in here. Convert it. And then there's going to be a default angle for this. So this one right here is going to be default to my 30-degree angle for my 3-inch conduit. My 2-inch conduit will default to 45. Maybe I want them to be the same. I'll do a custom angle. So anytime your angles are going to be weird and not the complete standard is if you do an override of that angle and have some weird dimensions in there. So being able to not have that would be nice, but again, if it's something that you're worried about, some of those not so experienced people doing some of the angles, bends, being able to play around with that, I would just say like walk through the parameters and explain them why things are the way they are. Maybe say like, oh, don't override the angle and put a weird angle in there. But bends are really nice. All of our settings, again, are going to help with that. We have different, even statuses for you. So if you want to keep track of things, maybe you're worried about missing, like keeping track of like, oh my gosh, where is everything in design? Where am I at all this stuff? So this might be something, again, where if you want to do like your location settings or even your spool settings to keep track of your different statuses, this also might be super helpful for you as well. But again, looking into the settings within Evolve, you're going to see that things are super nice in that way. Even our hanger placements and our sleeve placement, the fact that everything is completely automated for you is going to also help with that time. So you're going to be able to quickly place elements, you're going to be able to quickly do things, and then you're going to have that time to be able to critically think and make sure that everything is extremely accurate instead of having to worry about, oh my gosh, I have, only 8 hours to do like all of this stuff. I won't have time. I'm going to quickly rush through and do it all. But instead, you're able to kind of go in here and quickly do it. Even I'll just throw in some hangers here in this one little section here. I'll just go that way. Being able to just quickly have those hangers be placed, not having to worry about like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to manually do everything. I'm gonna have to worry about coordination. Because again, with our hangers, we do have a V1 of our collision detection. So if you do have visible links within here, not having to worry about that. So again, even something simple like this is going to help with that. And then also not having to worry about the rod lengths is also going to help you with those mistakes that are made. Because not going to lie, sometimes with the rod lengths before, it was a fake it till you make it kind of thing. But with this, you're going to have extremely accurate rod lengths because they are sticky to the deck. So even if you have a slope deck, not gonna lie, my least favorite thing is slope decks, especially like even parking garage. Slope decks are not fun. But in the situation here with the hangers, if you have slope decks or again, different levels of your ceiling, things like that, you're not gonna have to worry about it. It's all gonna be done for you that way. So again, there's a lot of different things to help you kind of work through everything, help you through everything and not have to, again, worry about that as well. So with that being said, let me look at some of the questions. So for your underground, we can definitely have a quick conversation about some of that underground as well here. Oh yes, and we do have one last poll question as well. Ashley, would you be able to put that up?
Yes. All right. And the last one is another fill in your answer. So if Evolve MEP could develop a feature to prevent a mistake, what would you like it to be? And these will go into our suggestion box.
Yes. And again, don't worry about it. It's not going to be something where we all show some of your ideas, but we definitely would love to hear that as well. So for the attaching pipe to equipment, so it picks up from and to parameters on the pipe. So right now, when it comes to the start and the finishes, that will be where you enter that in for your conduit run schedule here. So this will be something where your start and your finishes are things that are going to be added in here. Which is kind of nice too, again, when it comes to the information for your conduit run schedule. Again, this could be information that you import in from Excel, or again, you can come in here and just modify it. But even like your system run ID, start finish, all this information here can be fully customized to what your standards are within your project or within your company itself. We're very focused within Evolve is what are your standards. You're not going to have to conform to Evolve standards to be able to do something. It's really going to be focused on what are you currently doing and how can we help you in that process. But again, the start and finish could be something that you modify. When it comes to doing your cabling, we're going to have that within here. I'll bring this up. Our start and finish for your cabling, that will pick up for you automatically. So anytime you see like a grayed out feature within any of these dialog boxes, that information is going to be kind of placed in there automatically. It's not going to be something manually entered in. It's going to be something that it picks up on its own here. So for your cabling, your start finish there, that will be automated. But if you're going to do your conduit run schedule, that's something that you're going to enter in as well yourself. But this was automated this way. Let me see, any other questions that we all have? I'll give everyone a few seconds to kind of go through some stuff. But again, just in conclusion, when it comes to mistakes within this industry, definitely, again, learn from them, work through it, find these processes to help with this all. It's definitely going to be something that, you're going to learn from it and everything like that. But again, work through things. Let me see if there's any other questions. Let's see. Yeah, so for our prefab features, okay, cool. All right, I'll wait too. So I'll answer this question, and then you can answer that ask me that question while we wait. So for your prefab features, we do have a lot of features in the way of, having our spool drawings. I can just throw in some things. So we have a lot of features to prep for you when it comes to prefab. So I'll just throw it in here. So we do have like our couplings. So I'm gonna throw in some couplings here and walk through some of that process of getting to your prefab. So a lot of it is going to be making sure that your model and your drawings are going to be extremely accurate and ready to go for prefab. I think that is the one thing that is super helpful, is not having to worry about having to redo information and redo your drawings. I think that is one thing that happens a lot is, you're in that VDC side, you're in that design side, and then once it kind of goes to your detailing side, all of a sudden your detailers are gonna be like, oh my gosh, there's so many mistakes. They're gonna have to rework a bunch of stuff, and then you're gonna be waiting around. When it comes to when somebody gets in their hands to actually do the detailing side, they're gonna have that peace of mind that the entire drawings, the model itself is ready to go for them. Things like even like points and things like that I can show you as well. But for the prefab side, even with our couplings, being able to have that all ready to go for your prefab shop, I think they're very happy anytime things like that are put within the drawings. I can go through some of our schedules as well here, because those are going to be really helpful for you as well, not having to maintain these schedules. All these schedules are going to be within the template file itself that we do ship with Evolve, which again is huge. But I'll define a spool and show you this. So defining a spool, this naming could be whatever makes sense to you. And then from there, you're just going to choose what you want within your drawing. So this could be something where you break it up, every 10 feet, 20 feet. Again, it could be totally whatever makes sense to you when it comes to the information that you do want added. So press OK, finish. And what's nice too about Evolve, see, I've pre-spooled this. It's not going to let me select it, so you're not going to accidentally do two different drawings or things like that. We do have the ability to, modify the spools after the fact as well. So I'm going to finish, and then I'm going to go into my spool manager. From here, I'm able to quickly create spool drawings. So I'll just select these two, and I'm going to generate a sheet. So I'll go here, I'll do advanced spooling. These title blocks again are within the template, so you'll have access to those. Press OK. So again, when you're going to be passing this on to now do your detailing, so place in your dimensions, your tags, all that good stuff, you're going to see we have those schedules pre-created for you. These schedules themselves will be filtered down to your spool itself, so you're not going to have like a huge build of material. We do have a master build of material for you, but this build of material for you here is going to be specific to that spool itself. So what's nice about this as well, you can actually come in here and modify the title block here. So if you want multiple different schedules, if you want different views, things like that, that can be changed right within here. So when you're getting these drawings, it's going to, again, completely automate this process, and it's also going to automatically produce these drawings. But if you want multiple different schedules, things like that, you can just edit them as well here. Let me see, is there, let me see, okay. Let me read some of these questions here, and I can definitely dive it a little bit deeper into like the prefab side, but our schedules, we do have some tags for you when it comes to taking your information, all that good stuff as well. Can you type bytes? So for being able to connect two pipes in their existing location with an offset. So for kind of the bends, we can kind of play around outside of the webinar here, because I know we have like 15 minutes, but we can definitely kind of dive into that question as well, and we can kind of go through how to do some of the settings within our bends and play around with that as well for you. So definitely I'll email you after this and we can set this up. Thank you. Can you show dimensions? So for dimensions right now with Evolve Electrical, it's going to be a little bit more of a manual process, just because every company does things a little bit different for our dimensions. I know the mechanical side has some auto dimensions, but for Evolve Electrical, it's going to, again, just be a standard, do your dimensions themselves, and depending on how you dimension it. Are you going to do inside of your hangar, outside of the hangar, things like that. Just again, because every company does things a little bit differently, but we'll also give you those schedules for those links for you. We do have even a tool with our points themselves. So if it's something where instead of dimensioning every single hanger, if you want to just provide a points drawing, you could do that as well. I think I have something open here. Yep. So if you want to just provide like a points drawing, so they're going to have that again exact coordinates for you there, you could do that as well. Our points tool is super awesome. Again, coming from the industry with RTS, I love points. I've used multiple different softwares, and I really like how Evolve software is with our points, just because it gives you everything you need and it's pretty simple in that way. So it's nothing too crazy. It gives you everything you need. And also, I love the fact that our points are pre-embedded into like our hangers and our sleeves. So you're not having to worry about when elements move, going back and searching for your points. All of your points can be pre-embedded. So again, super nice in that way. Load or point loads for support. That is something that is not yet within Evolve, but I know it's something that I've been asked a few times. So yeah, it's a feature that highlights bends that aren't standard beds to make sure we are modeling correctly for prefab. So if you're going to be worrying about, your non-standard bends, I would definitely have that as like a parameter sync rule and utilize like filters in that way to be able to make sure that you, again, are having the accurate information. That's something, again, I would definitely use parameter sync to be able to kind of give you that warning that your bends are not the way they're supposed to be. They're not having a standard bend. Again, it could be something super simple in that way, but I would definitely do parameter sync to be able to help you with that one. Yes, I have your email. I'll email you about that. But yes, so yeah, any other questions? Let me see here. Any other little things I can throw at you all? Again, you're going to see with Evolve, there's a lot of features within this toolbar. I can definitely go through a lot of them and spend a good amount of time on them just because the features themselves are awesome and there's a lot of tools to help you throughout your process. Again, make sure that you're accurate, make sure that you're avoiding some of those mistakes, and just, again, the drawings, the schedules, the end result that you're going to get out of Evolve is, again, just going to give you so much time back. You're not going to have to worry about having to double check things or anything like that. So super nice in that way. So that being said, I'm super glad that you all could be here, learn more about Evolve, and also just help with mistakes, because I know mistakes are very frustrating and not fun to do. So hopefully some of this information will help avoid some of those mistakes for you. And again, if you have any questions and you want to talk outside of the webinar, feel free to email me and we can kind of dive a little bit deeper into some of those other topics.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the presentation, Amber, and thanks everyone for your participation in joining our webinar today. We appreciate you spending your time with us, and we trust that it was meaningful and impactful for you and your business. We look forward to seeing you on a future Evolve webinar. Thanks again, and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.